Good morning. Good morning. Well, today is not starting off well at all. Okay, well, at least that's working. Oh, like I said, today is not starting off well at all. Had problems getting my infusion started. It just did not want to go. Didn't I've got everything going, and what do? I forget to unclamp the feeder line. So I sit here for a half hour. It's like, okay, about time to go and change my syringe out. And I see my syringe is still full. And I'm like, what the hell? And I look down. And I still got the clamp on the feeder line. I'm like, ah, what the hell? So I'm already a full syringe behind the power curve this morning. A syringe and a half. At least a syringe and a half, which is like, ah. And I've got a contractor coming over at 1 o'clock that I want to have all this crap done by so that I can, I'm not meeting a contractor with tubes running out of me. And I was trying to get ready for today's stream, and I was wanting to do the congressional hearing with Hochul and Pretzer and crap, I can't even remember who the other guy was. Hochul and Pretzer, the two that made me mad. But I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it and I'm getting it all set up, and it's like I'm like, really, I am so tired of these stupid games these people play. I really am sick and tired of these stupid games. And I mean, just as an example, all right, where is it? Here it is. Here's Pritzker. He's asked a simple question. And out of his answer, he spends a minute and a half railing about gun control. He's asked a question about illegal immigration. And he spends over a minute of his answer railing about gun control and why Congress hasn't passed more gun control legislation, because he has gotten uh, gun control locked up in his state. Why can't the Congress get all guns banned like he wants them banned? What in the hell does that have to do with illegal immigration? What? And then the once he's done railing about about guns that he wants to be made illegal, then he gets to his question or his answer.
Lower the homicide rate. We have
Oh man, I know one thing I forgot to do. My computer has really been slowed this morning for some stupid reason, and I couldn't figure out why it's been this stupid slow. And I just realized that my VPN was turned on, which I got to turn my VPN off when I'm doing the stream. So maybe maybe everything will go a little bit faster now that I turn the VPN off. This is the way my entire day has been going since 4 o'clock this morning. This is the way my entire day's been going. All right. Why can't we get immigration reform done? Because the Democrats will not secure the damn border. They will not do what is necessary to secure the border. That's why. We cannot have immigration reform until the borders are secure. It's that simple. If you have, let's just, you have a stream of water coming into your glass, into a bowl. You got a very large bowl. You got a garden hose filling up a swimming pool. You got your swimming pool. All right. And you're filling up your swimming pool. And you see what's coming out of the hose into your pool is nasty. It's ugly. You don't want to swim in it. What's the first thing you do? You shut off the water. You shut it off. You secure that border. You don't want anything more coming in. Then you clean your pool. You don't keep dumping pollution, unwanted things into your pool while you're trying to clean it. You can't do that. You have to clean your pool first. And in order to clean your pool, you got to stop the inflow of pollutants. That's the same thing with illegal immigration and immigration reform. We can't have immigration reform until we stop the illegal immigration. And the only way to stop the illegal immigration is to secure the damn borders. It's that plain and that simple. But the Democrats will not secure the borders. They don't want the border secure. And how do I know this? What proof do I have the Democrats do not want the border secure? The last presidential administration. I don't have to go back to 1986 and the Immigration Reform Act of 1986. The President Reagan signed in that he allowed 3 million, a little over 3 million illegals to become citizens or to be in the country legally. I don't have to go that far back. I only have to go back a couple of years to the last administration when the first thing Joe Biden did, and the Democrats applauded him for, was to stop construction on the wall and start selling it off, which the Republicans should have fought in court. When he reversed the executive orders with the Remain in Mexico and everything else. And when they appointed Mayorkas to sit there and we secured the border. Meanwhile, 5,000 illegals a day are crossing the border. 5,000 illegals a day. And their idea of a border reform bill was if more than 5,000 a day start crossing the border again, then we have to reduce it to 1,000 a day. No, there shouldn't be any such thing. There should be 0 illegal crossings a day. That should be the goal. 0. That should be the goal. Oh, well, Biden deported illegals. Really? For every one he deported, a dozen came through. He didn't have a net loss of illegals under Biden. And the Democrats had no problem with it. The Democrats had no problem. So that alone tells me that Democrats have no plan, no wants, no wishes on securing the borders. They don't. And you cannot have immigration reform. There's, I forget the exact number. I think it's 700, but it could be less. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Um, how many immigration judges? All right. There's 735 immigration judges nationwide. They handle 6,000 immigration cases per year. What per judge? Why do the backlog has grown by more than 50% in just 5 years? Now, these immigration judges are the ones that are supposed to be dealing with the legal immigrants who want to go on. But they are so backlogged on dealing with illegals, they can't get to the legal immigration. They can't be the ones that say, yeah, you can become a citizen because they're so tied up in dealing with the illegals. We've got to and and just the fact, just in their name. And see, that's why the Democrats want to change it, change the wording. The control the language, control the language, control the thoughts. That's why they don't like the word illegal immigrants. That's why they don't like it. Because they don't like to say somebody is a criminal. Well, it's only a civil crime. It's still a damn crime. Well, it's just like jaywalking. And if you're caught jaywalking in some cities, you can and they actually arrest you. People have actually been arrested for jaywalking. They're not just given a ticket and told to show up to court and pay the fine. No, the police actually have arrested you for jaywalking. You can look it up. Now, the cops obviously in those cases overreacted and they're looking for any reason they could because the individual pissed them off for some reason. So they're looking for anything they could find to arrest the guy. Half the cases that I know about is because the guy refused ID and the cops had no legal way to make him ID. So they accused him of ooh, What's this? Two top union leaders leave DNC, dealing blow to chair Ken Martin. That's interesting. Let's see if I can. Okay. Uh, Union leaders leave DNC. Oh, this happened last night. Okay. Well, find out why they left. But it doesn't matter with the illegals. They came into the country illegally. And just with most countries, almost every country out there, if you enter the country illegally, they deport your ass. Now, Mexico's been letting people, has got a history of allowing people to enter the country illegally as long as they are on a direct path to our southern border. If they veer off that direct path to our southern border, then they get in trouble. But as long as they're on that direct path to our border, Mexico's allowed them through. Mexico should have been punished for that a long time ago. Uh, let's see here about the two DNC, about the union leaders who left the DNC. One of them was Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers. The other one was Lee Sanders, president of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. Okay, both supported a rival to Martin for the party chair, and Martin removed both from the DNC Rules and Bylaws Committee. Weingarten said she had concerns about the party's direction in a letter, declined to continue as a large member, a role she's had for decades. While I'm proud to be a Democrat, I appear to be out of step with the leadership you are forging, and I don't want to be the one to keep questioning as why we're not enlarging our tent and actively trying to engage more and more of our communities. Okay, let's see here. Sanders, the other one, said that public service workers are facing unprecedented attacks, and this moment demands unwavering focus. In that spirit and deep respect, I must decline your nomination to the DNC. And they're part of the blame. Martin is blaming Hogg because he told Hogg that Hogg had destroyed any chance that Martin had to show the leadership I need. Okay, so, but to see Weingarten leave the Democratic Party, that's interesting. Because, I mean, the teachers have been one of the strongest supporters of the DNC forever. Hey, morning, Digi. So back to this mess here with Bob Pritzker. Why haven't we reformed? Why hasn't the Congress done anything to reform the immigration laws? Because Democrats won't do the first thing necessary, which is to secure the borders. You can't reform immigration as long as you have illegals pouring across the borders. And as long as it depends on who is president, whether or not the borders are going to be secure for 4 years, wide open for 4 years, secure for 4 years, wide open for 4 years. And what happens when the president who secures the borders trying to remove the illegals? We get massive amounts of protests and billions worth of dollars worth of damage. Down near us, where I live, uh, about 100, I guess, of the local Democrats got together and had their own little protest on Saturday. It was really kind of pathetic to watch because most of them were geriatrics, children of the 60s. They were teenagers during the 60s and early 70s. And that watching them out there was kind of funny, holding up their cute little signs. There are some young kids out there too, but it seemed to be about 50-50 split. But all of them had that silver spoon look about them. So I don't know if there was any Mexican flags waving out there or not, but there's a couple of one of the pictures I saw. This didn't happen this happened or this photograph was taken somewhere else in the country. Had some really old guy in a wheelchair, and somebody propped up a sign onto him saying, "I fought the fascists in World War II. I'm fighting the fascists again today." And it's like, I said, I'm like 100 years old and I'm still fighting fascism. It's like this guy at 100 and some years old, I doubt if he's even knows that they've got him out there. But they wheeled him out there to be a prop, knowing that his photograph will be taken and he'll be held up as some kind of a hero. But like I said, I doubt if he even knew he was there. But Pritzker and some more of his rambling here.
We've seen it over the last 40 years, attempts along the way. It always fails. Every time it's because of Republican members walking away from the table.
And why are the Republican members walking away from the table? Because the Democrats won't do anything to secure the border. The Democrats won't secure the border. Why should the Republicans even bother being at the table? When the first thing that must be done isn't on the table to be discussed, there's no table there. There's no reason to go to the table.
You all are in control of the Congress and the presidency. You can get together with Democrats and get something put together that will secure our border and have a big door that allows people to come who are working hard, who will raise families in the United States and help our economy.
We've got okay, first of all, Democrats aren't going to secure the border. They've said that now. Their actions have proven it. Their actions over the past 4 years have proven that they don't want to secure the border. And until Democrats come out and say, we not only want to secure the border, but we want to stop giving aid, stop spending billions and billions of dollars supporting illegals, educating their children, paying medical bills, giving them cell phones, giving them Medicare, Medicaid, giving them SNAP benefits, putting them up in hotels or public housing. If we took away the financial benefits of them being here illegally, they would self-deport. Yeah, Paul, you're right. I got to watch part of the parade on Saturday, and what I saw was nice. But Pritzker, you sit there and you talk all high and mighty. Meanwhile, you know, you're as bad as the rest of them because you don't want to secure the damn border, and you push to support the illegals. Oh, but they're people too. We got to make sure that they've got food in their belly and a roof over their head. Why? Why? We have American citizens living on the streets. I don't see you putting them into hotels. I don't see you giving them SNAP benefits. I don't see you making sure they get medical treatment. And I'm not saying that that people who are living on the streets, I'm just, should be. I'm just saying is you give more care to illegals than you do American citizens. You care more about illegals than you do American citizens. You care more about their rights than you care about ours. And you, asshole governor, proudly bragged about how little you care for American citizens' rights when you brag about how many of our Second Amendment rights you've destroyed. So don't talk to me. You're not one for me to hold. You're not one to hold yourself up as any kind of a idol or any kind of an example.
Like Governor Walz, I know you took some incoming today. You got any closing remarks?
That's part of it. I would just say, Chairman Comer, acting ranking member, thank you to you. And I would like those folks sitting behind you and along the wall. Thank you to all of you for accommodating this. Chairman, thank you.
I'm done. I'm done with these guys. Where is okay? And if you really want an example here of what the liberal mindset is, North Carolina student who was suspended for saying illegal alien in class receives $20,000 apology from school and settlement. The family of a North Carolina student suspended last year for saying illegal alien in English classes dropped their lawsuit against the district in exchange for a public apology and $20,000. Kristen McGee, 17, received a 3-day suspension for using the phrase and discussing word meanings during his English class. What happened was in the English class, the teacher said, we want you to use the word alien in a paper. We want you to use this. And he said, and he raised his hand and he goes, when you say alien, are you talking about alien from outer space or an illegal alien? One of the other, a Hispanic student in McGee's class reportedly joked being in quotation marks, that he was going to kick Christian's ass. So the teacher escalated the matter to the assistant principal, Eric Anderson. Rather than get after the student who threatened violence, he went after the student who asked for clarification. McGee's words were deemed offensive and disrespectful to his classmates, prompting Anderson to suspend him. The assistant principal, Eric Anderson. According to the suspension documents, Anderson declared that his comment was racially motivated, so he suspended him for 3 days. McGee said, I wasn't speaking of Hispanics because everyone from other countries needs green cards, and the term illegal alien is an actual term I hear on the news and can find in the dictionary. When Lee McGee attempted to appeal the suspension, school administrators refused to budge. So then they hired an attorney from the Liberty Justice Center's Education Freedom to clear her son's name and record. Long story short, after a year, he gets his record cleared. He's no longer declared a racist in the official school records and everything else. The 3-day suspension is removed from his records, and the school pays $20,000 to help defray the cost of the private school he had to attend. Because, of course, he can't go back to the first school, to the public school, because they've declared him to be a racist. Well, they're saying, because the student threatened harm upon Christian, that's why it got escalated. But they didn't do anything to that kid because, I was just joking. That was just a joke. And I'm a Hispanic, so you can't punish me because I felt threatened by his words. Because everybody knows the only illegals these white kids are worried about are the Mexican illegals. Exactly. Well, not only the teacher, but the assistant principal. The assistant, the teacher failed in escalating it incorrectly. She should have escalated the threats of violence. And the vice principal escalated it by declaring that Christian was a racist for even asking the question. So, the district got off light by only having to pay $20,000 and wiping his record clean. The district got off real light. I don't want to see that jerk anymore. Now, another thing and speaking of, these protests that happened on Saturday, this started off on a Facebook post. California Democrat Party faces scrutiny over brick purchase amid LA protests. A recent review of California Democratic Party's May 2025 expense report shows a significant and controversial expenditure, the purchase of 200 pallets of construction-grade bricks. Notably, this acquisition lacks any associated construction plans or public documentation, raising questions about its intended use. Then the story goes on. This Jonathan Gregory is a comedian. And the people that actually looked into the California Democratic Party's expenditures, their reports. Obviously, I didn't do this. I'm just going by what research I was able to find on this. There was no purchase of bricks by the California Democratic Party. I am constantly on the Democrats for lying about things. Because one thing I can't stand is a liar. If you're wrong about something because you made a mistake, you didn't, you believe something that wasn't true, or you misremembered something, or as we all know, there's things that we're taught as we grow up that aren't the truth. But we were taught it by our parents. We were taught it by our schools. We were taught it by other adults. And we were taught it, we thought it was all true. Yeah, Paul, you're absolutely right. We need to do better by just not lying. Now, when I come across this as a news story, not as a Facebook post, and I'm sitting there going, now there is no way in hell this is true. So I did a simple Bing search, and then I come up with a bunch of stories saying that this was false. Then I also did a Google search and came up with even more stories saying that this was false. And that it was basically a lie from the start. The wife is home. She went out for a walk with her best friend this morning. And she just pulled into the driveway. But we all know that these things, that these lies, and I don't care who tells them, they do absolutely nothing for your side. Because when the lies get found out, and eventually they will, all lies usually do get found out. Then that makes everybody on your side look bad. Because nobody believes things that comes out. And that's why I see things I see any claim on MSNBC. First thing I do is I go and do other research on it. I don't care who it is that says it on MSNBC. Rachel Maddow, Pataki, their morning show. I don't care who it is. I see it. First thing I see a claim by them, first thing I do is say, okay, this is nonsense. And then I go to do the research to see what the real facts are. And on occasion, rare as it may be, on occasion, it turns out that they weren't lying. They actually did report the news straight. But the problem is I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to take everything that is said on a network, not believe them, and have to research everything they say in order to find out what the truth is. Hi, dear. How was your walk? Did you make it across the bridge and back in one piece? Good. Spanky didn't even get off the couch when she walked in. Usually he's all over her, having all kinds of fun, barking and yelping and wanting to go outside with her, which he has not been outside since you left. Speaking of which, he's been there on the couch asleep. Smokey will go out with you. Smokey's our cat. He loves outside. He thinks it's a giant litter box. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. He could have just used his litter box. We let him outside, and the first thing he does is goes and digs up some dirt, and uses it again. Cats and dogs, they're so much fun. Hey, morning, Neil. They spin the news, they leave out, and I'm just using MSNBC here as an example. They spin the news, they leave out important facts. They, and they expect people to trust them. And the problem is half the country does. It's that confirmation bias. Half the country believes everything that they say because they want to believe it. I want to believe the news. I want to be able to pull up a news report and expect that I'm getting the facts, that I'm not getting half of the facts. I'm not getting a third of the facts, or I'm not getting no facts and all opinion. That's what I want. And that, unfortunately, is not what we're going to get. Not anytime soon. And the reason why we're not going to get it is there's too many people that don't want it. If people would stop watching the networks. I quit watching network news for the most part. And I even stopped watching local news for a great deal of the time, because like one of the local news stations, when they were talking about the protests on Saturday, they're talking on Thursday and Friday, they were effectively just reading off of the organizers, the No Kings organizers website. And they actually said, they were actually inviting people to come out and join the protest. I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and I'm going, what the hell? Is this the local news endorsing a protest? Which is exactly the way it sounded. Hey, Raman, good morning. I actually did have a good weekend. Went to my son's yesterday. My grandson crawled up on my lap and he just became a permanent fixture there for the entire evening. Had hamburgers for dinner that my son grilled. Well, he actually smoked them. It's been a long time since I've had a smoked hamburger. And it was really good. But just sitting there playing with my two grandsons and talking with my son and his wife for a few hours was really, really pleasurable. And my youngest grandson turns 2 here in October. No, August. He turns 2 in August, and him and I were playing with the Jack in the Box for about 45 minutes. And every time the Jack in the Box popped up, just the look on his eyes and the sounds that he made, then he'd go and push it back down, and I'd have to help him to go down the lock, close the lid, and then turn it so that it would pop back up again, and his eyes would get all big and he'd squeal. We did that for about 45 minutes yesterday. It was absolutely enjoyable. All right, Digi, you have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Don't let them work you too hard. Hey, Paul, good morning to you. And this was a Batman Jack in the Box, so it was the Joker popping out of the box. So it was fun. But anyway, what's this here? Okay, now Riverside, California. Home. Some of the bigger, seems like all the big protests are out west, especially when it comes to the illegal immigration issues. This is a video off of X. Okay, let me turn this volume down just a little bit because it's blowing my ears out. And you see the protesters got the streets blocked here. Cars are trying to go down them. Now the protesters there, you saw the protesters here beating on this guy's car. And he took off and he ran over a protester. Ran one over, trying to get out of there because he was feeling threatened. He had the protesters beating on his car. Why? I don't know. Did he shout something out at him? I don't know. But exactly, Paul. Better safe than sorry. Clowns are evil. So the guy ran him over. Now, in California, that's not legal. Here in Florida, that would be, and in Texas, that'd be considered self-defense. But California, them protesters are to be protected. And you're in your car, so you don't have to worry about it because you're protected by your car. Personally, if I'm ever, first of all, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid getting caught in that position. I'm not going to, knowing that there were even protests happening, I refuse to go anywhere near the places where the protests are most likely to happen, or the protesters. That's, going out to my son's place yesterday. He's so far out. He's a 40-minute drive out in the country. So I've got no problems. Oh, really, Ramen? Well, the problem is if I knew I had to go anywhere within reason of a reasonable distance of these protesters, I absolutely had no choice in the matter. And I'm living here in Florida. I'm not going to say I'm living in California because what I do wouldn't work in California. But it sure as hell would work here in Florida. My gun would not be in the holster. It would be on my lap. And the first person that started beating on my windows would be shown the gun. If they beat a second time, they would experience the feeling of a half ounce of lead coming their direction at a high rate of speed. Because I wouldn't want to necessarily run over a protester, because the guy or gal I ran over may not necessarily be one of the ones threatening me. They just got in my way of getting out of there. I thought about getting one of those, Paul, and putting it up under my dash. I have thought serious about getting one. And in fact, I do have one somewhere. I've just never put it up. But like I said, my primary concern for the most part, my primary way of avoiding that is to avoid it. I just don't go where the protesters are going to be. Right, dear? We avoid the issues caused by going near protesters by not going to where the protesters are at. Now, when I was much younger, Paul, I had and before I got married, I had the obligatory gun rack, rifle and pistol rack in the back of the truck, in the back of the cab. So, and there was usually a rifle on it. Like I've got a 22 rifle I keep in my truck now, but it's a AR-7. So it's broke down. Now, it's nothing to put together. Takes no real time at all. But in fact, I need to get that out and shoot it. I haven't shot it in about a year and a half. So I need to get it out, clean it, and shoot it. So just to make sure it's still in working order, I'll call down the gun range and see if they'll still let me take it down there and shoot it along with my 9mm. My 9mm, my 38. Thanks for reminding me. But yeah, I mean, running over protesters, I've got no problem with it for the most part. Protesters shouldn't be blocking their streets. That's not peaceably assembling. Peacefully assembling is still allowing other people to go about their business. Now, there is video that I saw this morning, which I haven't been able to find, which I didn't look. I suppose I could look again. Protesters attempt to enter Capitol. Yep, here they are. And about 60 protesters attempted to enter the Capitol building. But the Capitol Police were ready for them. None of them were arrested. You know, here's the story. Just, it didn't get much publicity. Roughly 60 people who were protesting President Trump's Army anniversary and his deployment of National Guards were arrested outside the U.S. Capitol. Okay. I was told nobody was arrested, but evidently they were. Situation unfolded with approximately 75 people protesting the Supreme Court. 60 of them left the Supreme Court, made their way to the U.S. Capitol, where the police had established a perimeter. Protesters crossed the police line while running towards the building. A few people pushed the bike racks down and illegally crossed the police line while running towards the rotunda steps. Our officers, quite unlike January 6th, immediately blocked the group and began making arrests. Now, see, this here's something, okay, Veterans Against Fascism. I'm against fascism, and I'm a veteran. But I strongly disagree with these guys because they're saying that Trump is a fascist. But I could legitimately argue that the Democratic Party and the way they acted for the last 4 years are the real fascists. And I think I'd have enough supporting evidence to prove it. But I'm also going to say that I strongly disagree with these people saying, you know, that they're speaking for all veterans. Because they don't speak for me. And I guess the best way I could hold an argument with these guys is to start manufacturing T-shirts saying Veterans for Trump. Veterans against the Democratic Party. Veterans against illegal immigrants. Paul, I use the Alien Gear uh, carry system. Their modular Alien Gear's modular carry system. I find it works extremely well for me because I can go either concealed, paddle, even Western style carry if I want, because it's a modular system. 2 of those arrested were taken to the local hospital for treatment. The protest, now see, the protest had been organized by a nonprofit group, Veterans for Peace, who were meanwhile wearing T-shirts, Veterans Against Fascism. Approximately 60 veterans and military family members staged a sit-in on the steps of the Capitol to demand the military get off our streets from LA to DC and taxpayer money be directed to real investments in housing, healthcare, and food, not political stunts or militarism. Now, here's the first lie. President Trump threatened Americans coming to exercise their First Amendment rights would be met with great force. That's negative. You can exercise your First Amendment rights, and Trump says you can exercise them as long as you're exercising them peaceably and within the law. There's a lot of people really upset with a sheriff here in Florida for what he said because he was rather blunt in his commentary. About the what he would do to individuals who broke the law while protesting. Personally, I agreed with him 100%. And I'll see if I can find that video real quick. If I can, great. If not, he basically said that if you're protesting and you throw rocks, you're going to go to the hospital, then jail. If you point a gun, then they'll notify your family where they can pick up your remains, because they'll kill you graveyard dead. And people are all upset. Oh, he's going to escalate. He's going to shoot into the crowds. He's going to do this. He's doing this. It's like, no, he's just flat right warning you right then and there. If you want to come and protest peacefully, hey, have at it. But you start throwing rocks, you start spitting on his officers, you start hitting his officers, there is going to be punishment dealt out. You're going to get arrested. There will be physical violence put upon your body. And if you point a gun at an officer, you will die. Paul, it's not so much we need the blunt sheriffs, we just need the laws to be enforced. The bluntness scares people right now, though, because they're not used to it. They're just not used to having somebody saying, if you do this, then this is what's going to happen. We're not going to sit here and discuss what you did and why you did it and how you should know that you shouldn't have done it. If you do it, this is what's going to be the immediate reaction. And I'm all for it. I want that. Because then there's no excuse that when a person does a certain thing, he can't sit there and say, well, I didn't know that they were going to react this way. Because he warned you in advance. how you were going to get treated. You were told heads up. And the laws back him up on it. Now we have a county sheriff over in Bay County and a couple of cities worth of police that got themselves in big trouble a few years ago because they arrested a man who was taking pictures and making a video of a like a UPS or FedEx building. Well, it happened to be across the street from a school. And the cops decided they're going to enforce a law which had been basically rescinded about taking photographs of students or photographing within a certain distance of a public school. So they arrested the guy. Well, they ended up, the sheriff got in a lot of trouble. The chief of police for the city got in a lot of trouble. The cops got in a lot of trouble. They got sued. They had to pay up and they had to undergo additional training. So, the cops aren't always right. The sheriffs aren't always right in what they do. And I've got more than a few beefs with the police and the policing in our country, where they violates people's civil rights. But there are times though when the police, they've got the law is there, and as long as you are following the law and primarily peacefully protesting, not blocking the streets, because other people, your right to protest does not allow you to interfere with my right to travel. Now, if the police at the city says, okay, you guys are going to be protesting, we're going to block off this portion of the city, for you to do your protesting in so you can have, the streets and everything in this 2-block area, 3-block area, that's fine. That's the city coordinating off an area for you to hold your little protest. And then I've got to figure out how I'm going to get to where I got to get to around that area because it's been cordoned off by the cops. But if you decide that you're going to block the streets and you're going to take over the streets and you're going to do this, no. And especially if you decide that you're going to sit there and start beating on my car and threatening me. And if I give you the finger and you don't like it and you start threatening me and beating on my car, now then I've got the right to self-defense. Because that's my way of protesting your protest. So it works both ways, guys. Everybody has to do things peacefully. But I wonder if these 60 some odd people that they arrested, if they're going to be treated like the January 6ers were treated. With the big difference, remember, January 6ers were escorted by the police throughout. A lot of them that were arrested were escorted by the Capitol Police around. All right. So let's get to the final big story of the weekend. The assassination of the Minnesota lawmakers. as we've figured out through the news reports, the two lawmakers that were shot had both voted to restrict the rights of illegals and compromise bills with the Republicans. That seems to be the only thing that they had in common, at least what I've been able to find so far. They've arrested the guy that did it. This Vance Luther Bolter. 57 years old, arrested near his house. Bolter is accused of carrying out what Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called a politically motivated assassination. Now, when these Democrats were first shot that night, when these lawmakers were first shot that night, the news was it was a Trumper. It was Mega Man out there doing it. Now, as far as I know, other than him being appointed by Tim Walz to some non-political positions, they really haven't released what this guy's political positioning is. At least not to what I saw this morning before I started the stream. His wife does own a security business that had some political or some contracts with the government. He did have no Kings posters in his car. Unfortunately, Melissa Hortman and her husband both were killed. Senator Hoffman and his wife, so far as I know, both of them have survived the attack. This is this character. We've talked about this back when Trump, the assassination attempts on Trump, 2 or 3 of them now. Assassination, politically charged shootings in the United States is not it doesn't do any good to anybody. It strengthens the resolves of those on the side of the victim. It doesn't demoralize them, especially if the victim survives, like Trump. Get rid of that ad. Now, supposedly, this character emailed a friend of his saying that he's about to die for some stupid mistakes, stupid decisions he'd made. But I under no means support the idea that anybody uses any kind of political assassination to advance their political positioning, because it doesn't work. It rarely works. And all it does is it is used by the side of the victim, either by the victim themselves or by their survivors, to paint the other side as being evil. And thanks to the bias of our media, it's they'll paint, if they can prove that this guy Belter was a Republican in any way, shape, and or form, it'll be used to paint all Republicans as being evil because of this. When the guy that shot up the Republican softball team, even though he was using the Southern Poverty Law Center's information, they did, the media kept, they didn't push that agenda. They didn't push that as being an issue. The trans shooter, the media didn't push its manuscripts. In fact, the police tried for months, successfully for months, to hide the manifesto that this kid had written, because it did not do anything to push the agenda that they wanted to push. Yeah, Paul, you're right. The only time, it worked was LBJ being able to push through stuff that otherwise wouldn't have gotten done. So I'm glad I'm glad the guy didn't get the Belter didn't get killed. I want to see him in a trial. I want to see him convicted. And I don't know if Minnesota has the death penalty or not. Does Minnesota have the death penalty? 1911. Since 1911, lawmakers have drafted attempting to reinstate death penalty in Minnesota, but none of these bills have passed. So since 1911, Minnesota has not had the death penalty. So well over 100 years. So if Belter is convicted, the most he can get, unless he is brought up on federal charges, is life in prison. Now, if Pam Bondi and such are supposed to be investigating whether or not they can bring him up on federal charges, and if you do, then he can get death penalty there. You just can't get the death penalty on Minnesota. But I want to see him convicted if he is actually the one that did it. But by all looks of the facts as they are right now, he is guilty of it. I just want to see him spending the rest of his life in prison. And that would be the correct punishment. The correct punishment, I think, would be the death penalty, but have y'all just the AI? Let's have some fun here. The videos, and I posted a bunch of these over on, oh, there's that sheriff I was talking about earlier. Let's watch some of these videos I posted, AI videos I posted over on X, just to have fun. These aren't mine, obviously, because I don't have the kind of skills it takes to do. But I think they're absolutely hilarious.
You ever wonder why every video of me looks like hot garbage? It's because I'm not real, man. I'm a myth, a brand. I don't even like beef jerky, man. I'm a vegetarian. But no, every gas station got me on some teriyaki flavored nonsense. I think I'm having a midlife crisis. For years, I was a damn myth, living free, taking dumps in peace. Nobody warned me about taxes, man. I thought living off the grid meant I was off the books. Now the government says I owe 23 grand for merch sales. You ever wonder why every...
Okay. So there was that one.
Okay, so the cat... All right, y'all. Never had coffee before. Okay, so the caffeine's kicking in. I just built a dam, rewrote the Bible. I'm not okay, but I am productive. 1 cup of coffee. Oh, 1 nin. My asshole's humming like a kazoo. Okay, I don't know what's in coffee, but I just blew moss off. Oh my God! It's hot! It's hot!
I hope you guys are enjoying these as much as I am. There's that. If y'all want to see that sheriff, go check out my timeline on X, because right there he is, the very blunt Florida sheriff.
Me and Dirty Mike had a good run, but me and Dirty Mike here just foraging for snacks. Forest life, baby. Me and Dirty Mike had a good run, but a man's got to eat. Forest life, baby.
This will be the last one I show.
Old Yeti 1 hit. Bro built an igloo. Forgot. Gonna find Yeti and smoke a dubby. About to be lit.
These AIs are what they're
Told
doing here
Yeti
is
1
amazing.
hit. Bro built an igloo. Forgot where he put it. Update. He found the igloo. But I'm like 90% sure this is a porta potty.
These guys, what they're doing with the AI is just absolutely hilarious. You got to be careful, though. There is somebody put out an AI of what was supposed to be an F-35 jet that had been wrecked, shot down. And if you look at it, the wing is the wrong. If you look at it compared to a real F-35, the wing styling is completely wrong. And they got the wing cocked up at a 45-degree angle, but the cockpit is laying square on the ground. I'm sorry, but the F-35 is not an X-wing. It's not a Y-wing. doesn't have a wing sitting at 45-degree angle to the cockpit. So again, I I see stuff. I see anything on the internet. First thing I do is I've got Bing and Google pulled up on the side because I simply don't trust them to, anything I see on the internet as being factual anymore. Because there are just too many people out there with especially now with the AI being so realistic. You see somebody supposedly saying something on the internet, a politician, don't believe it until you look it up and you see a half a dozen news reports reporting about, that politician saying that. And it's sad, but it's a fact of our life as it is now. It used to be, pictures or it didn't happen. Well, people started faking pictures with Photoshop years ago, 20, 30 years ago. Then it was, well, video or it didn't happen. Audio or it didn't happen. Well, then they turned around and had Arnold Schwarzenegger being a mermaid and being Beyonce's Little Mermaid. So, and now they've full on got video fakes out there of people saying things that damn well they didn't say. So you just can't believe anything you see out there anymore. Yeah, well, Paul, that's why I was talking about people being photoshopped. About Photoshop ruining the idea that photographs or didn't happen. And when they start deep faking porno, slapping actresses, famous celebrities' heads on other people's bodies. Well, if you looked, you could usually tell that they were photoshopped on there. But now they've got the software that you take a picture of somebody, you put it on there, and the software will remove the clothing, and depending upon the information put into it about the individual, it will guesstimate what the naked body looks like. So, yeah, and that's why the news reporting is so important, that they should be accurate and truthful in what they report. But they're not. And that's the sad thing. We've got, if we can't trust our reporters, then who are we going to be able to trust? If we can't trust the people that are paid to tell us the truth, then how in the hell are we going to know what's actually happening? I don't agree with some of the things Trump says, like the video of him running around going at the one speech saying that if you're caught burning the American flag, you should be spend a year in jail. Well, if he actually said that, I strongly disagree. One, that is a First Amendment right Two, as long as you didn't steal the flag, that's your property. You can do with your property whatever the devil you want to do with it, as long as it doesn't harm other people. Again, your rights end where mine begin. Like Jim Brown said, anything on the outside of that face mask belongs to him. Anything on the inside of this face mask belongs to me. That was from when he got asked about why he bit somebody's fingers. Well, they had their fingers inside his face mask. He couldn't bite them if they weren't there to start with. But again, how do we trust the news anymore when they can fake the reporting? So, on that bit of sad news or downer point, I got nothing really upbeat here for this morning other than those fake AI videos I just showed. If you can find them, man, some of them, especially the ones about him about him eating Taco Bell. Some of those, the first few of them are really funny. Then they start to get old, but Taco Bell jokes. Taco Bell jokes, magic mushroom jokes, or finding cocaine out in the wild. Some of them are funny the first few times you see them. After a while, like all jokes, they get old. At least for me, they do. Anyway, y'all try to have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Let me check my calendar. I know I got something going on one day this week where I think it's Wednesday morning. Let me double check my calendar here real quick. Yeah, well, I don't stream anyway on Wednesdays because I've got a 8 o'clock doctor's appointment Wednesday morning. So I'll be back tomorrow, and y'all have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Do your own research on the news. Don't trust these guys to be truthful if you have been trusting them. And as always, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with and have fun. Bye.